Monkey recaps. Today's story begins with a young man going over an ad on his phone. The ad reads, "Have you ever had a prophetic dream? One where you see someone else's love story before it unfolds? Or a friend's vacation before they even take it? Or have you ever met the person of your dreams in your dreams? Don't just sit around waiting for your dreams to come true. Come on down to Loveline Travel Agency and meet with one of our Journey of Love consultants." The young man flips over his phone and looks gleefully at the ad and asks one of the consultants, "Your ad really got me curious. Will I really find true love on one of your trips?" We're introduced to Miss Sayoung Lee, who's a Journey of Love consultant. She has prophetic dreams which tell her when and where people will find the love of their life. So she stops scribbling on her notebook and responds to the man, "Of course. Welcome, you've come to the right place. I'm Journey of Love consultant Sayoung Lee. I had a dream last night that I think was meant just for you," she tells him. And she thinks to herself, "Gosh, I told them to change our ad copy. They made it even cheesier." Destination in mind, she asks him. He nervously laughs and responds, "Well, I was kinda hoping you could recommend a place." "No problem at all," she says. And in that moment, she starts thinking of the dream that she had. Miss Seong Lee has an uncanny ability to predict when and where people will meet and have true love. And so she uses this ability to make recommendations for travel plans and vacations, and as such makes money out of all of this. And so she thinks to herself, while imagining where they will meet, "While all of you find love, I will make money out of this." And so this is what Miss Seong Lee does for a living. You said you wanted to visit Europe. Here, take a look at our brochures. There's so many romantic little spots, as she hands him over some brochures of European destinations. In that moment, a stranger across the street is looking into the cafe while Miss Lee is giving her consultation. "Wow, that's so cool," the stranger thinks to himself and smiles. "I find you, Miss Seong Lee." The stranger walks in and takes a bow. "Ah," says Miss Sayoung Lee. "What a day," as she stretches. "Great work today," says her friend, as they have a little bit of chit-chat while the customer leaves. "Thanks. Great coffee, by the way. Italian coffee is the best," her friend says. "I'm trying a new flavor and I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I like consulting customers outside the office," she says. "They feel more relaxed and less pressured." "So true. All because you got us to open this cafe. You're like a goddess." No, no, no," she says. "It wasn't just me. I had lots of help," she says. "You're too modest. Thanks to you and your cafe, our travel agency is the most popular in the country." Rather jealous of all of the people coming in and getting their love predictions given. And so she wonders, where should I travel to find true love? While she's saying all of this, the stranger from across the road has walked in and is just behind them. "Excuse me," he says. "Miss Journey of Love consultant," the stranger says. "Are you a customer?" Miss Seong Lee says, while her colleague is so smitten by the way the man looks. He's so handsome, she thinks to himself. "Are you a customer?" Miss Seong Lee says. "So cute," her colleague thinks to herself. "He's so handsome." Goes the guy, blushing ever so slightly. "Oh, I've been looking forward to meeting you," he says. "I heard you're amazing, but now that I've met you," as he mumbles, "you're even cooler than I thought." Yikes, this is not going as I had planned, he thinks to himself while breaking a sweat. Everybody rather stares awkwardly while he's giving out this little speech. "Well, anyway, let me introduce myself." "Oh my, he's quite handsome," Miss Seong Lee's colleague says while blushing. "I'm Seowan No," he says. "Wow, he is so crushing on Miss Lee," her colleague thinks to herself. "Hello, Mr. No." And Miss Sayoung Lee is quite uninterested, as she sees this as simply extra work and unscheduled, and she asks him, "Do you have an appointment?" No, he says. This is such a headache. I know it's probably troublesome for her, her colleague says, feeling the second-hand embarrassment. But still, he's so cute. Here's my card. Miss Seong Lee reaches out and gives him a card and a coupon for free coffee if you make an appointment. She hands it over to the guy, who seems rather confused. "I'll be happy to help you if you make an appointment," she tells him. The guy looks quite teary-eyed and confused. "Thank you," he finally says. And then he just ran out in tears, utterly confused and embarrassed. This is now Sayoung Lee is back home and telling her little sister about everything that happened, all culminating in Sayoung No running away teary-eyed. "Well, that's on you," says her sister. "You made a customer cry. Get off your high horse, you're not a goddess," Sayoung Lee's little sister Yona Lee says to her. "Come on, what did I do? That was so wrong. All I know is you made a hot guy cry," says Yona. "How could you just do that? It's so unfair." Yuri said the same thing, that it's my fault, as she says, twirling her hair, quite annoyed. "I mean, I do occasionally accept customers I don't have a dream about. Nothing wrong with that. But I do hate it when people come in without an appointment," Miss Seong Lee says, while thinking of all of the times when she had such annoying customers whom she had to deal with, having not had a dream about them. So many customers were serious assholes, she thinks. Just thinking about them makes me want to puke. Sure, except that it seems he's more of a fan than a customer, her little sister says. "I think he just wanted to see the famous goddess up close and personal. You've been writing other people's love stories this whole time. Maybe your own love story is about to begin." It would seem her little sister is quite a romantic type, and she just sits there and thinks, I'm so sick of love." "Oh, there's something I wanted to tell you," her little sister says while fidgeting nervously. "This is between us. I think I've been having prophetic dreams like you," she thinks to herself, all embarrassed. "Oh, come on, you're so annoying. Not just anyone can have prophetic dreams," Miss Seong Lee says. "Stop it. I'm serious." No, really, for real. I've been having the same dream for a week now," she says, sniffling, trying to convey seriousness to her sister. "You mean the one where your friend transfers to a new school?" "No, not just any school. She goes to an A school abroad." "What if she really leaves?" she says, quite distressed. "I can't live without her." "Then try to change it," her sister says. "Just remind her of all the good times you have together, so she doesn't even think about going abroad. That way your dream won't come true." Her little sister thinks to herself, "Then that's what I'll do." "Yona, time for bed," her sister says. "You have school tomorrow." "Yes, Mom," she says. She flops over the bed and starts thinking to herself. "Tomorrow," she says to her little sister. "Yes, Mom," she says. Miss Lee flops over to her bed and starts thinking before she drifts over into sleep. "I hope I see him in my dreams," thinking of Sayoung Lee. "I want to know where he'll meet the love of his life. All he wants is to date girls. He doesn't care about traveling. Sure, it means more money in my pocket, but I just don't get why people are so desperate to fall in love. Come on, appear in my dream," she thinks. Appear. For the first time in a long time. A good night's sleep without dreaming about anything, Miss Lee thinks to herself as she makes her way out of her apartment in the morning. She sees the flutter of little cherry blossom petals. It's a warm day, she thinks to herself. To quote my customers, it's a good day for love. The wind makes my heart flutter, she thinks to herself, and even something so trivial makes my heart skip a beat. It makes me feel like a high school kid again. She catches one of the cherry blossom petals and holds it in her hand. They say if you catch a falling cherry blossom petal, your love will come true. Sayoung No thinks to himself, it would seem he's also walking about and sees the cherry blossoms fluttering about in the same way as Miss Sayoung Lee is also doing. I want to love, he thinks to himself, Miss Sayoung. And in that moment, Miss Seowan gets a thump on her shoulder and another one, and she nervously thinks to herself, wow, this is how I felt when my professor told me to give my presentation even though I'd done zero prep, she thought to herself. Her heart keeps going thump, 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 thump as she gets these palpitations. You weren't in my dreams. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen today. Well, isn't this quite the coincidence? Miss Sayoung Lee gasps for air. It was Saewang No who was behind her all this time. I made an appointment today, Sayoung. No, I'm quite looking forward to the appointment, she tells him, all the while feeling so awkward and thinking to herself, how rude and fussy is this guy? I wish I could tell him the business was closed. And in that moment, Mr. No brings up his hand, and in it he has one of the cherry blossom petals, and in that moment he lets it flutter out, and he's blushing, and Mrs. Seong also has this flustered look on her face. It doesn't have to be right now, he says rather awkwardly. I'm used to waiting, he says. And they have this quiet awkwardness about them as they just look into each other's eyes. Maybe he's not so rude after all, she thinks to herself. I gotta keep him around until I have a prophetic dream. He could be my future customer. I'll dream about him eventually, she says to herself. Why don't we walk inside? She tells him. Okay, Mr. Saewang No says to her.